Well, the idea is the word composition comes from the Latin root componere, which means to put together. An archaic use of the word was to describe a mutually agreed settlement or compromise based on accepted rules or conditions. Excuse my sort of theorizing here, because I always like to know where I'm coming from. The modern dictionary definition of composition is the putting together of parts to form a unified whole, and the manner in which such parts are related. Whatever the subject discipline, and the word discipline is perhaps a key, discipline following pre-understood rules makes the subject matter understandable and its sense communicable. What I hope to do here is to demonstrate not only rules of pictorial composition, but to attempt an underlying theory from which rules can be derived. Firstly, I propose that pictorial composition is a grammar which assists in the communication of pictorial ideas. Since pictures, like language, are a form of communication, the first consideration in making a picture obviously must be the subject matter and what can be said about it beyond straightforward objective representation. The next decision, of course, viewpoint, coupled with perspective. In photography, both still and movie, perspective representation of picture elements can only be altered by varying the viewpoint. Lens focal length affects only the included angle of view and the image size on the film. Altering relative image size to give a special or false effect of perspective can only be done photographically by physically moving subject elements. In that respect, artists have the advantage, since they can paint details wherever they wish, whatever size they wish. But care needs to be taken to avoid creating obviously false perspective with unbelievable vanishing points. A useful way of altering frame proportion, as here, is to make a frame as part of the picture through a form of arch or trees or something like that. In this case, trees, of course. The device also concentrates attention on the main subject. I want to go on and consider picture elements. An amorphous jumble of detail provides, this is entirely theoretical now, provides little immediate information to crowd without a centre of interest, and at best like a field of rape, or radio interference noise at worst. Although the way art schools seem to teach nowadays, there's a chance that such a picture might win a student award, if not a Turner Prize. So that's my trick. And that one's not much better. If we concentrate attention on any one item by simply giving it dominant size, as here, but the noisy background is still distracting. And if the dominant subject is in itself uninteresting, then the picture is just plain boring. This can be taken as boring. Like this one. I didn't take this picture. It was actually done by my father-in-law, who was an architect. I think he just had no other opportunity to photograph the castle in the background, which is what was interesting him. He just had to leave the tree in. Actually, he was quite a good painter as well. Using a plain background makes for an in-your-face approach, but looking at a single point which has no intrinsic interest is not so much hypnotic as tiresome. Attention is turned away rather than held in the end. This picture, that's the docks at Kingsley Lewis, is an example of the blob in the middle approach. It can succeed when the blob itself is full of interest. The exception is when the blob is really a picture within a picture with a plain background. This is a picture within a picture. The blob, and this sort of arrangement really applies to a lot of portraits, especially to the head-only portraits. So, as every rule, there's always an exception. Placing secondary points of interest in line with the primary subject leads the eye from point to point. Diagonal arrangements work well because they give some feeling of action in the manner of a runner circling forward as opposed to a static figure that stands quite upright. This subject is obviously composed of both vertical and horizontal lines. But the picture elements are arranged on a diagonal line, as in the diagram cited previously, which leads the eye up and down, giving some sort of dynamism or movement to what is really a static subject. This is another diagonal arrangement which connects the lady to her Guinness. Is it Guinness? No, I think it's Bass actually. Which is probably how she wanted to be connected anyway. Discussion of exactly where to place the main subject elements for maximum effect has accounted for many trees. It's just an endless argument. It's gone on for years. I'm sure you all know the rule of thumb of rule of thirds, designed to give a point of interest to lessons around space to move into and avoid the impression of the subject being cramped. Current thinking is slightly away from thirds and uses international standard paper proportions as shown here. That's approximately 1.6 to 1, or 5 to 3, and 8 to 5, and so on. It's the longer side is to the sum of both sides, as the shorter side is to the long side. Yeah, it's a fact.
Well, I have that in writing.
Well, no, it's that shape. It's that shape. And when you fold it in half, you've still got the same proportion.
Oh, I see. Yes.
The idea is actually 2,000 years old and was developed by the Roman architect Vitruvius, and it was cribbed or rediscovered as the Palladian style. This is an example of that, which gives a feeling of balance with symmetry. But again, pictures based on a single centre of interest, which this is really, can become easily boring. It's rather like a melodious sung note held too long, leaving one wanting to move on. Just little grounds in the end.